This is what happens when fear makes you lie and God still shows up anyway. And if you don't catch what's happening in this chapter, you might be living the exact same way. Because this is uncomfortable. This is Genesis 20. Abraham just witnessed something insane. God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah. Fire from heaven. Total judgment. You'd think, after seeing that, Abraham would be locked in, solid, unshakable. Right? But that's not what happens. Abraham moves into a new region, Gerar. New land, new king. A man named Abimelech. And immediately, the same old fears creep back in. Abraham looks at Sarah, his wife, and says, "Say you're my sister." Not again. Not again. He already did this once in Egypt. Same lie, same fear, same pattern. Do you ever do that? God brings you through something, and then you fall right back into the same behavior. Yeah, that's what this is. So Abraham tells Sarah to say she's his sister. Why? Because he's afraid. Afraid they'll kill him to take her. Even after everything God promised him. Even after covenant. Even after protection. Fear overrides faith. So Abimelech, the king, takes Sarah. Because as far as he knows, she's not married. Now, stop right there, because this is where people misunderstand the Bible. God made a promise to Abraham. Sarah would have a son. Not just any son, the promised one. That means this situation, it cannot happen. God won't allow it. God will not allow it. And sure enough, God steps in. But not how you expect. God comes to Abimelech in a dream. Not Abraham. He comes to Abimelech, the pagan king. And God says, "You are a dead man." Why? Why? Because of the woman you've taken. She's married. Now imagine that. You didn't know. You were told she was single. And now God himself shows up saying, "You're guilty." What would you do? But here's the twist. Abimelech pushes back. He says, "I didn't know. I acted with a clear conscience." And God agrees. This is huge. God says, "Yeah, I know. I kept you from sinning." Did you catch that? God prevented the sin. This is the line that changes everything here. Genesis 26. I kept you from sinning against me. Not just you didn't sin. God says, I stopped you. That means sometimes the reason you didn't fall is not because you're strong. It's because God intervened. So God tells Abimelech, return Sarah, because Abraham is a prophet. Wait, did you catch that? Abraham just lied, put his wife in danger again, and God still calls him a prophet. That should mess with you a little bit, because we think once I mess up, I'm disqualified. But God's calling doesn't collapse every time you stumble. That doesn't excuse the sin, but it reveals something about God. So Abimelech wakes up, terrified, calls everyone together, tells them what happened. Then he confronts Abraham. "What have you done to us? You nearly brought guilt on my entire kingdom." And he's right. A pagan king rebuking God's chosen man. And Abraham explains himself. "I thought there was no fear of God here. I thought they'd kill me." So he lied. And then he adds this detail. She actually is my sister, technically. Half-truth. Just enough truth to justify the lie. Have you ever done that? Given just enough truth to justify your lie? So Abimelech does something shocking. He gives Sarah back. He gives Abraham gifts, livestock, servants, silver, even offers him land. The man who was wronged blesses the one who lied. That's uncomfortable, but it doesn't end there. Because when Sarah was taken, God closed every womb in Abimelech's household. No one could have children. Judgment. Judgment over the whole house. And then Abraham prays. The same man who caused the problem prays for the solution, and God heals them. Wombs open again. Life restored. That's how the chapter ends. So, what does this reveal? It reveals that fear can make even faithful people compromise. It reveals that God protects his promises even when we act like they're fragile. It reveals that God sees intent. Abimelech's innocence mattered. And it reveals something deeper about grace. Because Abraham didn't deserve to be called a prophet in that moment. But he was. Abraham didn't deserve to be the one who prayed healings over others. But he did. God's plan moved forward in spite of him. So, where does that put you? Are you trusting God or managing situations yourself out of fear? Are you telling the full truth or hiding behind technically true statements? And here's the real one. How many times has God protected you and you thought it was your own strength? Because this chapter isn't just about Abraham. It's about you. Fear, control, half-truths, and a God who still intervenes. So, what does that say about you? Where do you fall in this? God's promises don't depend on your perfection, but your choices still matter. And maybe the reason things didn't go as far as they could have is because God stepped in. Not you, him. May the truth set us all free.